All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For those who don't know, we're all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. We're especially excited this week because this is our World Oceans Week Spectacular. So we've had already 30 hangouts with amazing researchers, explorers, helping conservationists from the seas all over the world. And so we've been really thrilled on our build up to World Oceans Day on Friday. And we're continuing that with you here today. So thank you so much for joining us. Right now, we've got 3 classes from around the world taking part. So we'll give them a chance to do a bit of a shout out. We've got Miss Philpotts, grade 2s in San Antonio.
Hey!
We've got Mrs. Karuliaks, grade 5-6s in Terrace Bay, Ontario. Hi, guys. Like how fast one person just jumped up there. And then we have Mr. Ryan's grade 3-4s in Kerry in Ireland. Hi, guys. That's the new bar been said. Okay. Of course, the reason you guys are all here today is for our speaker. We're joined live by Sam Craven, joining us all the way from the Philippines, where they have really loud geckos we just discovered. So she is an ocean conservationist. She works with governments, scuba and snorkeling operators to make sure that there's sustainable tourism, that we can protect the coral reefs in one of the most beautiful areas of the world, Southeast Asia. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to her. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. And I'm really excited to speak to you guys, especially from all over the world. I'm actually half British and half Filipino, so I'm very glad to see at least the British Isles. I know Ireland's not the UK, but a little bit more about where I got a little bit more familiar with the ocean. So I'm actually a marine biologist by training, which means I went to university to do a marine biology degree. But if you'll see in my slide, I have put that in quotation marks because that doesn't have to define how you are with the ocean. You don't have to study it to work with it, and you don't have to have studied it to make choices that help us protect it, because it gives us so much. So looking at some of the places where I've heard you guys are from, you're not all ocean-based. And I can really relate to that because I actually grew up in Singapore. And this is Singapore. It is an island, so it does have ocean, but it doesn't have a lot of beaches. It's quite polluted, as you can imagine. You can see how many people live there. It's an island city nation, so the whole island is the city itself. And there's not a lot of opportunity to really get in and explore the ocean. So that was my upbringing. But luckily, like I just explained, my mom is from the Philippines. And I don't know if you guys know anything about this, but this country is made up of 7,000 islands, plus. And they have gorgeous beaches and loads of reefs. And we're basically pretty spoiled for the ocean in the Philippines. Unfortunately, I didn't really take advantage of that when I was a kid. So this is me and my brother on holiday in the Philippines. And we did this a lot. We played on the beach. We played on top of the sand. We didn't really go underwater very much. So even though I really loved the ocean growing up, I didn't really know how deep that could go. I didn't know how amazing it was. I didn't know all of the crazy different things that you can find in there. Hi, guys. Welcome.
We're good now. 4th class joined in. Keep going.
Awesome. So this is supposed to be an animation where you could see a beautiful reef behind. And the very first time I saw a reef was when I was 11 years old. So all of that time growing up, holidays in the Philippines, I never got to see what you can see in front of you now. And to be honest, at 11, I couldn't really remember exactly what I saw. I saw a shark, a baby blacktip reef shark in the shallows of the mangrove. We were walking maybe 10 meters away. It was super close. And it was just doing its thing. It was just swimming along. And I think that's when I realized that they don't have to hurt you if they don't want to. You know, it wasn't something to be scared of. It was just awesome to have seen the reef and have seen how amazing it was, how many different kinds of fish there were, and then to see the shark that was just so well made. And it was just swimming along. just doing its thing. It didn't mind that there were 30 kids splashing their feet in the shallows right next to it. It was just going along. So I remember that the whole class came back saying they wanted to be marine biologists. All of our parents said this. So obviously it was a really influential trip for us, a field trip. And most of us had never really seen the reef before. But as far as I can remember, I'm the only one who actually took that to university. I'm the only one who became a marine biologist. And I think a big part of that is because when I was 16, I learned to dive. So you can see the quality of these photos is not fantastic because they were all taken on film because we didn't have cameras on our phones. We didn't even have mobile phones then. And it was just the most I mean, you see the smile on my face. My brother is not as into diving as I am, and I think that's evident from this photo. You can see he's looking a bit grumpy, but I was in heaven. This was just the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. When you're snorkeling, you're kind of on top of the reef. You see everything from a bird's eye view, but when you're diving, you're like right down in there with the coral. And it was just done. I was done. That was it. That was what I wanted to do. I had no idea what that meant. I just knew that that is where I wanted to work. Why shouldn't I work somewhere that was really beautiful, exciting, that made me feel like I was doing something good for the world? Let me see if I can show you guys this video, because I think until you've been on the reef, you can't really see the 3D nature of it. Like, it's all these different shapes, all these different colors, and it's huge. Look at the size of those people compared to the structure of the reef. It's very humbling. And, you know, we see buildings, we see skyscrapers, you see huge cars, you see planes. Nothing is quite as impressive as seeing the size of something that nature built itself. So I don't know how much you guys know about the ocean already, or about coral reefs in general, but it's a really special ecosystem because it's actually made up almost completely of animals. So each little bump that you see in that picture is thousands and thousands of animals that grow their skeleton on the outside. So just imagine thousands of humans doing a huge human pyramid. That's the reef, essentially. And when I found this out, I was like, this is just, it's mind-blowing. How can you imagine like that many creatures all working together, all glued together in their skeleton? And I just knew that it was something that I wanted to do. So I went to university in the UK. Why I chose to do marine biology when I wanted to work with reefs in a very cold country, I have no idea. Probably because it was the cheapest university option. But it didn't give us a lot of coral reef stuff. I did things like look at the rocky shore, and I looked at seaweed, and I looked at rock pools, and that's what we studied, all the stuff just on the coast. And it was incredible enough what these animals have to go through, what they have to deal with. And it wasn't easy. It's a lot easier doing subjects that you are interested in, right? But it's still university. It was still hard. And when I graduated, that in itself was just a lot of fun. But what do? You did this degree, and I don't know, this might be a little far away for some of you guys, but for those of you in high school, it's worth thinking about already. If you do a degree, what job can you get afterwards? How do you find that out? Well, you talk to your teachers, and you talk to your parents, and you talk to your parents' friends, and stuff like that. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I ended up, through friends of friends, going back and working for the same field trip company that took me on that first field trip in the first place. So I got to share this new knowledge that I got at university with new generations of kids. And we did all sorts of stuff. We took them snorkeling, we went into the rainforest, we showed local cultures around Malaysia and Singapore. And I did get to spend a lot of time on the reef. I got to see a turtle lay its eggs. That was something really cool. But as I was sort of talking to the field trip kids and taking them around, and it was really, really awesome getting people to get really excited about what we were seeing. I was also noticing that there were changes. There were changes from when I first went diving. There were changes from the first field trip to my last one. We could see more plastic in the ocean. We could see there were less fish. We could see that the coral wasn't as beautiful as it had been before. So I wanted to move on and work in conservation. So conservation, in my view, was looking at what was going on and finding out what needed to happen to stop all of this bad stuff happening. I mean, it's pretty obvious plastic's not good. We can't eat it. That means the fish can't either, okay? And like, who do we need to ask to stop using it? How do we get new laws put in place? How do we reach people who don't know that it's a problem and help them understand that? And that's really something that I wanted to work on. And so I left and I did a bit of well, in the UK, we call it a gap year. I suppose if you were going to do something, call it something, maybe it's like a working holiday. Go out and experience lots of different projects and see what you like to do, and then try and find jobs within that. You guys are hearing the really interesting gecko in the background. That's Philippines nightlife for you. It's either the gecko or it's karaoke. So I did some really cool projects. I worked with sharks a lot. I went to this island in the Philippines and I worked with thresher sharks, which are these amazing sharks with really long tails. The tail is like 1/3 of its body, so you can see that here. So we were looking at some of their behavior and how divers were interacting with them. I also did some work with whale sharks. So these are the biggest fish in the sea. They also are the most stupid fish in the sea because they have the smallest brain for their body size. And, you know, you don't swim with them and think, oh, that's a really clever animal. Like if you see an octopus, you can see it doing its thing and thinking. With a whale shark, all they want to do is find food. And it was really cool working with all of these creatures and seeing them every day and being in the ocean. But I didn't really see how that went back to what I wanted to do, which was make things better for the ocean. Change the way people are doing things, change the way we make choices to stop all of that stuff that I saw happening. And I realized that what you have to do is work with people. So this isn't as exciting as seeing me with a whale shark or a thresher shark or diving in the reef. But what I ended up finding was that the diving community, those people who went diving like I did when I was 16, were the most passionate. And those passionate people are the ones who are going to do something. They're going to change their habits. They're going to change other people's habits. They're going to take the effort to do that. So I started working with a project called Green Fins. So green for environment, fins for diving. And we work with dive centers all around Southeast Asia, in the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. One day we'll work in the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, and the Red Sea as well. But these are all major diving places, and they're major diving places because there's a lot of coral reefs. And the coral reefs there need help. So my job is to help these divers help the reefs. I can't do everything as one person, but as one person, I can train a lot of people to make a difference. So that's the job that I've been doing for the past 6 years or so. And it's really exciting when you get to meet the people who are there every single day. And if you guys ever go snorkeling or you ever go diving, I really encourage you to take the time to get to know whoever's guiding you out there, because they will have some awesome stories. They will tell you things that you can't read about in textbooks, that, you know, maybe aren't on YouTube. Maybe they just aren't on the internet yet. And the only way you're going to find out is by talking to the people, because they want to tell you all about it, because they love the ocean too. So you've seen lots of photos of cool stuff that I have done. I've seen some really awesome things, and I've been to some really cool places. But the best work that I've done, and also what I usually do on a daily basis, is either talk to people or sit behind my computer. And I guess this is the message that I want to tell you guys is, go for your dream job. If you find what you want to do it. But just know that a dream job is still like any other job. Talk to your parents, talk to your teachers. There's ups and downs. And there's not a whole lot of jobs that will have you in the ocean every single day. But there are jobs where you will feel like you're helping out as much as you can. So you can't really see, but at the bottom of this picture, there's a little Coke bottle. So this is somewhere I went for my birthday this year. I'm lucky enough to live in a city that's really close to the beach. So we went, and you can see in the background, it is a beautiful beach. It's calm, it's really picturesque, and it's the only hotel on this beach, and there's still plastic pollution. So you guys might not be diving with sharks. You might not work with kids doing field trips like I did, but I can guarantee that at some point in your life, you're going to go to a beach. And you're going to be the one who's on holiday, the one who visits one of these magnificent places that has all of this cool stuff. And you're going to have a responsibility. You're going to have a responsibility to make a choice. So I wanted to share with you some of the really cool things that you can do as a tourist, if you go on holiday, to make sure that you're going to take care of the ocean like it takes care of us. So these are some of the things that we share with our divers. But if you have a look at the little guy on the right here, this is our coral animal. And it's an animal that's important to remember. Just because it looks like a rock doesn't mean it's alive. They're actually really closely related to jellyfish. They're like jellyfish upside down, stuck to a rock. It's basically a coral. And they grow really, really slowly. Some of the corals that you can see can be 10,000 years old. Okay? That's way older than the turtles in Finding Nemo. But when you're going out snorkeling, make sure that you're not touching it. It's like you won't go and touch a stray dog, or you won't touch a jellyfish. Ooh, I wouldn't touch a jellyfish. So try not to touch the coral either. If you get tired, make sure you're wearing a life jacket so that you can rest. Some of the other things that we see really often that seem like they're helping, but maybe they're not, is feeding the fish. So you can see this in all over the world, from Hawaii to places in the Caribbean, and definitely in Southeast Asia, we see a lot of this. And people think they're helping. We're going to feed the fish. We're going to feed them bread or rice or crisps, things like that. But if you have a think about it, there's no 7-Elevens underwater. There are no bakeries. Fish aren't supposed to be eating bread, and it actually upsets the balance that they're in. So try not to do that. And you know what? You're kids. You can get away with telling people what to do. So if you see someone feeding fish, go and tell them that they're doing it wrong and that they shouldn't be. And the last thing I want to share with you guys is something that I learned the hard way. Because when I loved the ocean, I wanted to wear it. I wanted to show that I liked it by wearing shell jewelry or having collectibles. And it's only one shell if it's just you, but it's never just us. Tourism is big. Lots of people are going on holiday all over the world. And if everybody takes one, then there's going to be none left for what should be there. Empty shells actually become homes for things like hermit crabs and other really cool creatures. So if you find it on the beach, unless it's trash, leave it on the beach. So the last thing I wanted to share with you guys is that I don't know if you know how powerful your voices are. Because, okay, adults can tell you what to do. They seem to have all the rules in place. But the shock that adults get when a kid tells them something that makes sense and that's positive towards the world, I guarantee you'll shock them into doing what you say. So, guys, please help, because I can't even tell you the difference that I've seen in the ocean in the last 20 years. And I want you guys to be able to see what I've seen and what I've shown you in this presentation. So if you see someone doing something that you think is wrong, speak up. You have really powerful voices, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So yeah, that's it. And I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I'm really looking forward to answering all your questions.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Sam. So as you get off screen share and we go back to seeing you and not the Mantis Shrimp from the beginning, we will start with Miss Philpott's class. If you guys have a question for Sam. Go right ahead.
How deep have you dived?
A little stacky. How deep have you dove, or how deep can you dive, Sam?
Oh, how deep? 30 meters.
Which,
So I don't know what that is in feet. Sorry, we're metric over here.
it's about 100 feet.
100 feet.
Okay.
You have to get a special card. You have to take special lessons to go diving. And depending on how many classes you take, depends on how deep you can go. But I think once you're like 10 years old, you can go down to 12 meters with your instructor.
So just a few more years for that classroom. Awesome. All right, let's go to Mrs. Kruliak's class. You guys have a question?
How big do coral reefs get?
Well, the Great Barrier Reef is the biggest coral reef in the world, and you can see it from space. So they can grow thousands of kilometers. I think that's really crazy. They're just little creatures, but they all work together.
Awesome. Let's go to Ireland, Mr. Ryan's class. You guys have a question?
Who's got the question? Yeah, just coming up with our question now.
Yeah. Microphone and everything. I love it.
What was the most amazing? What was the most amazing thing you've seen in the last 20 years underwater?
Ooh, that is a good question. Ooh, what do I choose? Well, that's a really hard one. I mean, I think that's saying something. That means there's a lot of cool stuff to see.
There is. Are there any stories that jump out? A few.
Maybe when I saw an octopus crawling over the reef and changing colors, like it changed to be the same color as the coral underneath it as it was walking along. That was really cool.
Cool. For the classes too, if you guys want to look up, we get octopus stories a lot. You can look all those up on YouTube and you can see an octopus changing color. It is amazing. It never gets old. All right. So Miss Dillon's class in Farmington, you guys joined us a little bit through. I know there's not too many students, but if you guys want to ask a question, come on up. Yeah, you're good.
How old do coral reefs get?
Wow, that depends how big they are. So the bigger the piece of coral that you see, the older it is. You kind of take it as they grow like 1 centimeter a year on average. So if you see something that's 10 meters big, that's 100 years old. But they can grow much older than that.
I mean, if they got as big as the Great Barrier Reef, that reef system must have been there for a very, very long time. Yes. All right.
Before humans.
All right, let's go back to Miss Philpott's.
What was the picture on the first slide?
I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah.
What was the creature on the first slide?
Oh, creature on the first slide. Yeah.
Can I show you guys that again? Because that one is a really cool creature. That's a great question. Let me just go back.
They are very cool. All right.
Okay, so this is the first slide. That is a mantis shrimp. So it's kind of a relative of a crab. And this one's actually called the peacock mantis shrimp. And it's, you see the 2 arms in the front? You've got the ones near its mouth and then the ones to the side. And the ones to the side are like boxing gloves. And they actually move the fastest for the size of the animal in the world. They move so fast, they can make a spark underwater because of how fast it is. And the eyes can see like 13 different types of colors. They see colors you can't even imagine.
How big is
asking great questions.
How big is a peacock mantis shrimp? Can you show us with your hands or when you're back to you?
I am turning off. Like that.
It's a fairly large, powerful little animal.
They can break your dive mask if you get too close. Don't get too close.
Let's go to Mrs. Kuruliak's class. Yeah, you're good, guys. Yep. Ready? Hi.
What was your favorite?
Oh, try that again. Favorite something.
What was the that you guys?
No, I think you're talking. You have to talk straight at the camera. If you talk down, it cut off your voice entirely. Sorry.
What was your favorite dive place?
Dive place?
Dive place? Sorry.
Dive site?
I don't know. So guys, one thing we can do, if it's cutting out, with all the classes that are like this, there's a little blue rectangle in the top left of your screen. If you click that, you can type your question. Sorry for the trouble, guys.
Okay.
What's your favorite shark?
What's your favorite shark? I like the thresher shark with the long tail. They've got really big eyes. Guys, you should Google it. I'm sorry I didn't show you the front, but the tail is really cool. But the eyes, they're like... And when they swim past you, you can see them looking at you. But they're not aggressive sharks at all. And where you see them, they actually come onto the reef. They're very deep-dwelling sharks, and they come up to the shallows because they get cleaned by other fish. So they come up to a special reef spot, and these cleaner wrasse see that they're swimming in circles. And when they swim in circles, they know, oh, okay, that's the signal. It's not going to eat me. I can eat the parasites off of the shark. So the fish come up, and that's why you can see them for so long in that place, because they're pretty dirty. They need a shower. So that's what they're doing when they come up from the deep.
Do you think that's going to take off for people instead of showers being eaten by little fish?
People try, you know. There are shrimp and fish, and yeah, people try. I'm not sure I would recommend it. I think a shower is still more efficient.
And on that note, we'll go to Mr. Ryan's class. If you guys have a second question, come on up.
Go on. Yeah, we're coming. Sorry for the delay.
Take your time, no hurry.
Grab the microphone. Microphone, yeah. It's step on the S side. Now.
What was the biggest fish you've ever seen?
The biggest fish?
Yep.
That was the whale shark.
So, can you give us a sense of scale on the whale shark? You said it's the biggest fish. How long exactly is it? Because they're amazing.
So, the ones that we get in the Philippines are like 8 or 9 meters. They're teenagers, but they can grow up to 12 meters. And there is stories from the past, so no modern scientist has measured it, but like old fishermen say they found whale sharks up to 18 meters.
So for the American classrooms, anywhere from like 30 feet up to almost 60 feet in records that people are saying. So an amazing animal.
But their brains are like this size. All they do is like food. That's all they want. They eat. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, they're really cool the way they eat because they're so big, but they just eat plankton. So plankton, you can't even really see it. It's what makes the water a little bit murky. It's these plants and animals that are really teeny tiny, and they just float in the water column. And the whale shark actually has filters in the back of its mouth. So when it gulps food, it's filtering out the plankton and then eating that.
Very cool. All right, let's go back to Ms. Dillon's class.
Does anyone have a question? Pick one up.
Hi.
What's your favorite animal that you found in the sea?
No pressure.
No pressure. I know, it's so wide to choose from. I really, really like these things called nudibranchs. They're like sea slugs. So imagine a snail without its shell, with its lungs on the outside, and it's dressed up in fancy dress. That's how I would describe a nudibranch. I should have had my favorite creatures on the presentation, but if you guys want to Google it, you Google a thresher shark and you Google a nudibranch.
So Nudibranch. They are beautiful. Like they really are. That's the best description of them I've ever heard. So thank you for that. Sam, do you have time for another 4 questions, one from each class?
Sure. Let's go for it.
All right. So we're going to try Miss Philpott's class again. We might need to do it written, but you can start by trying to say it.
Okay, can you hear us?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we were just saying we didn't have any more questions, but today's our last day of school. So we're going to take our meter sticks and we're going to measure the whale. So that's going to be our experiment.
Cool.
Thank you so much, guys.
Awesome job.
Very
Thank you
cool.
for joining, guys, and have a fun summer.
Yeah, we look
Hope
forward
you
to having you
go
back
to the
next year. Awesome, guys. All right, let's go to Mrs. Caruli's class then. And hopefully the mic works here.
What is the biggest or oldest coral reef?
The oldest coral reef in the world?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I mean, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia is pretty old. So I would say off the top of my head, that one. But
Well,
that's a good Google question as well, if you guys want to get curious.
Google is very helpful, we find. But what about that you've seen personally? So they asked that as a follow-up.
Ah, okay. I think maybe in Palau. So Palau is pretty near Guam. It's in the middle of the Pacific. And that's where some of the pictures that I showed you were from. Especially the one with like the divers and the really big wall of coral. So that seems pretty old to me. I'd say that's some of, that I've seen.
All right, we seem to have 2 people lined up in Mr. Ryan's class. If you guys want to do back-to-back questions or one together, whatever you wanted to do, go right ahead.
And what is the scariest moment underwater?
Sorry, say that first part of your question
Your
again.
scariest moment underwater.
Oh. I was diving down on the back of a boat and someone pulled the anchor up while I was diving down. So it wasn't a creature, it was all people and the choices that we make, which is why it's really important that you guys have a think about the choices that you make. But, you know, it wasn't seeing a shark, it wasn't being really deep. That stuff was just, it was fascinating. It wasn't stuff I thought would be scary, just didn't seem to be when I actually did it.
So what was the danger when they pulled the anchor up? So they were going when you were diving off the boat, or what was happening?
I was going down the anchor line.
Oh, okay. Yes, that wouldn't be good. All right. Because you guys were so in unison, and I loved it last time, if you guys have a second question, or one of our last 2 questions in Mr. Ryan's class, go right ahead, guys.
Ask for us. Oh.
Have you ever nearly done it?
I don't know. She said the scariest thing was that. We got another question about
I know what you're doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you ever seen a duck? How many breeds of fish in the world?
Oh, right. Excuse me, but swap. But guys.
So many good questions. You guys can ask them right now if you want.
I wanted to tell Mr. Ryan's class that there are coral reefs around the UK and Ireland. There are like cold water corals.
All right, yeah, go right ahead.
How many breeds of fish is in the whole world?
Ooh.
Oh, wow. That is a big question.
I think
in the Philippines, there's over 1,000 species of fish. So in the world, it's going to be a lot more than that.
so.
There's like 900 types of coral, and the corals support loads of fish because the fish live in the coral.
So Google came through with this one. So 28,000 species of fish. So that's a lot more than if you took all the mammals in the world, all the bats, primates, antelope, cats, dogs, everything, combined, that's about 6,000. And there's 28,000 kinds of fish. So way more kinds of fish than there are anything that's like us. So tons. Good question. All right, we'll end off with a question from Miss Dillon's class. If you guys want to have another one.
Have you ever been in a submarine before?
In where?
Submarine.
Ooh, submarine.
Ooh, nice question. No, I haven't. I'd love to do that.
We should connect you with some of our other hangout people that are going down in submarines and make it happen.
That would be, yeah, I would love that. I remember watching David Attenborough in a recent documentary, and he went down on a submarine, and he's like 80 years old, guys. Like, I don't know how his knees got in a submarine, but he did it, and he went down, and it looked amazing.
It is. That's Blue Planet 2, which is just, right, the best documentary. Everyone should watch Blue Planet 2. All right, we had another kid waiting. So if Miss Dillon's class, I know I said last question, but you can go right ahead.
Where did you first dive?
Ooh.
I first dived in Malaysia. So not too far from the Philippines, but it's right next to Singapore. So yeah, off an island on the east coast there. But I know that like you can learn to dive in a lot of places around the US as well.
All right, so Sam, what we do at the end of every hangout is I'm going to demute every class's microphone. So Miss Philpott, earlier, Mr. Ryan, Miss Dillon, if you guys can join me in saying a big thank you to Sam. Thank you, and goodbye. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a good day and have a brilliant summer holiday as well.